Alright guys, so it's the afternoon. It's probably close to 4:15 at least. And I came out to a piece of public this afternoon. Hunter talked me into it. There was a spot that he wanted me to check out that he scouted, and I found some of the trails that he was talking about, but nothing really tripped my trigger, and I don't know, it just wasn't working out. So I was originally going to go down to an area that we've hunted in the past just to kind of observe, and I didn't really like that idea because I sat in that spot last week and I didn't see anything. So I ended up working further in here, going up on this ridge, and at that point I was just figuring I might be walking for a while just to scout, and I ran into some really, really fresh rubs, and so I just decided to sit up on top of this ridge because I can see the bottom and the top, and I'm trying to observe what's going on. And literally just as I got done getting set up, I got up in the stand. There was a deer down behind me, kind of where I didn't think deer would come from. There ended up being like 4 little bucks, and they sparred, and then they tried coming up here. One got through. I was trying to change a battery on the camera because it died, so I filmed the one on my phone, and the one that came in by those rubs I think is the culprit because he had fresh tree shavings all over his antlers. Needless to say, I got punked because I set up here because the rubs were like literally extremely fresh, like sap all over the place. That was the buck. So we know that there's big ones in here. There was in the past. I did find a trail camera on the way in here, so there are people that hunt it, but just have to sit and see what happens. I wasn't expecting to see any deer, so that was a good start. Alright guys, so I just got set up, and a lot of you guys are probably thinking what the heck I'm doing getting set up at light, as you can tell. And I've got a reason for that. I got in here with perfect timing. This piece of public is actually quite a ways away from where we usually hunt, and it's a long walk, so you gotta really get up early to get in here, and I'm prepped to hunt all day. This is that piece of public where the really big deer is that Hunter bumped. I'm gonna call him just the really big deer because he's really big. I think how it laid out, the deer was actually bedded on a different bottom behind me, but I can already see there's a bunch of rubs in here. And Hunter actually set a trail camera before he left that day, and I just pulled the card. I got in here with pretty good timing. I was in here probably 20 minutes or 30 minutes before legal shooting light, so plenty of time to really hang a stand. But the problem is I'm not very good at picking out trees in the dark. I'm awful at it. I just have like a bad depth perception in the dark. So I've already done it twice on different hunts, but I set up way too close to the trail, and so I tried to get away from the trail here, the same trail that the trail camera was on, and I couldn't find a good tree. We got a wind coming this way. This ridge is sitting here. There's a big bottom, and with this trail running right in front of me, all the good trees were actually on the wrong side of the ridge for the wind. So I ended up going to this side of the ridge, and I still want to be able to shoot that trail, and I want to be able to shoot this bottom because I think a lot of deer are going to cruise this little marshy area. So I actually set up literally on the ground with the stand at first, and I thought it was going to be alright, but as the sun came up, I realized that it was more open than I wanted it to be, and it just wasn't going to work. And I was like 10 yards from the trail, so my depth perception is awful. But I looked right behind me, and there's actually a tree that would work. So I saw like a little spike, and then I decided that before a deer came out from my right and I got picked out because they would have seen me, I decided that it'd probably be best if I just got in the tree, got it done quick. And as I was climbing, I actually saw a deer. I have no idea what it was. I was hanging the stand, so it was actually right over there on that other side of that ridge. So I'm prepped to stay in here all night. I know I'm talking a lot, but just want to get this interview done. Prepped to stay in here all day. I got food. I'm gonna sit here for a while, see what the action is like, and depending on where I see most of the movement from sitting here, I might make a move for this evening. So it's really windy, but there's a big deer in here. Hopefully we can get on him.
6 hours later.
Well, the lens is smudged. I don't have anything to wipe it, so I'm just gonna have to live with it. So today's just not been what I expected, mainly because I haven't really gotten into much deer, and this is a really good place. I know it is. I ended up last time I talked, I didn't know what I was gonna do, and I was cold, so I pretty much just got up and I walked to the west side of this unit, which wasn't too far. Saw a bunch of sign, actually found a tree stand, but nobody was in it. They accessed it through the private. So then I ended up working a little bit further to the south, and then got into some really good sign, and I almost set up. I just didn't know how it laid out, and the wind was really, really swirly. And so I finally just decided that if there was a deer in there, I probably spooked it already with my wind. So then I opted to come over to this side, and I never spooked anything that I saw. It was going super slow, and so then I just finally decided to come over to this side, because that side, I went and checked that edge, because there's the private is crops, and that crops was picked over there. It was beans, and they already had picked it already, so over here I could tell when I was sitting in that stand this morning that there's corn up on top of this hill. And the last trail camera photo that we have of that big buck is he was heading this way. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways he could go back, but I came over here and found some good sign, and really not too far after I crossed over the marsh, I actually bumped like 3 deer. One of them was for sure a buck, a pretty decent buck, and they literally, like, I don't know how they saw me. It was like 200 yards away, and it was like pretty brushy, so I'm not sure if it's just a hot doe in there, because the 2 deer that I saw actually were going this way, so there could be a hot doe in there, or I could have spooked them, one of the two. So I worked up this hill, this ridge a ways, and actually found quite a bit of good sign. There's a bunch of rubs in here, and there's that cornfield up top. So I'm set up kind of in the middle of all the action. Not all the action, but all the trails. It seems to be there's a couple different trails. There's a heavy trail on the bottom, which I knew there would be. There's kind of like a couple different secondary trails up here. So I just decided to set up and actually climbed into a tree. Didn't like the tree. Got down and did it again. So it's been a cluster. I need more food. So I'm gonna sit here the rest of the day and see what else we can find or see or spook. rattling sequence worked perfect. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, what in the heck is your issue? I almost shot that deer. If it was any other place, I think I might have shot that deer. At first he looked like a big 8. No idea where my glove went. Fudge. Well, in the process, I dropped the glove. Well, that stinks. I dropped my glove in the middle of that. I didn't even realize that. I wonder if that's why he looked up at me. But that rattling sequence worked perfectly. Like I've never had one work that good. I'm gonna rattle again probably in another 45 minutes to an hour. But I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, what in the heck is your issue? And I kind of think the same. I've passed up more good deer this year than I have seen in my entire life. It's been a really great year. I almost shot that buck. I was prepared to shoot that buck. Usually I glass him up and it's like, I know it's not a shooter. That one is a big 8. It was coming in. I was telling myself I wanted to see what he looked like when he got down here, and I assumed he was going to go down there and skirt me anyway. But he walked literally right up to 10 to 15, 20 yards. I stood there broadside. And I kept telling myself, what in the heck are you doing, dude? But this is a really hard unit to get a deer out of. And I don't really necessarily want to shoot one just to shoot one back in here. But he was a solid buck. He was a really good buck. He ended up being a 7-point, but would have been a solid public land deer. But we know there's some really big ones in here. And I still have got like time. I know I'm gonna end up not shooting a deer with my bow this year, and you guys are gonna be like, you still had time. But I'm trying to go for a big one this year. Well, can't really tell on the camera because it actually does really well in low light, but we've probably got like 10 minutes of legal shooting light, I'm pretty sure. And we're losing light fast because of the cloud cover. So I'm gonna slowly start getting stuff round up here in the tree. That way I can get down quick, and once legal shooting light ends, so I can get down quick and start the trek out of here. So overall, if I see anything else, I'll show you guys that. But I think that's gonna wrap up this hunt. Didn't see near as many deer as I thought I was going to, but had a really good encounter with that nice buck. But I have good intel with the trail camera photos of that big deer. So hopefully we'll be back in here soon, really hammer it down and see if we can try to put an arrow on this beast. So see you guys in the next video.